Cat, it's Maximus here, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Flexible Lit or Lighted Magnetic Pickup Tool. I want to do this as a bonus review. I was pretty tired when I did that last review about the tin snips, and I had reviewed the video and it wasn't my best work. So I wanted to do this as a kind of a bonus review to make up for it. The reason I wouldn't re-record it and re-upload it is I thought it was, good enough to leave there, and I actually upload over the cellular network. I know this is kind of my situation, and it takes a good 2 or 3 hours to upload videos. I just didn't want to spend the time going through that again. So I'll leave it as it lays, and I'll just go ahead and review this as a bonus review. One last note I wanted to make is sometimes comments don't show up. I have it set to YouTube to block anything that is a link or looks like a link, an email address. There's a lot of companies and people who just, use the comment section just to advertise their products and as a support forum and just all kinds of spam. So if your comment doesn't show up, it's probably because it has a link, and just give me a couple days and I'll end up approving it after seeing it's actually a real comment rather than just some kind of spam or advertisement or a company just trying to, essentially promote themselves. This Harbor Freight tool is actually $6 on the shelf. It's not too bad. Let's take a nice close-up look at it, and then we'll get some measurements. Here we go. We do have an aluminum head, which I actually do appreciate. It has a neodymium magnet, so it's a rare earth high-strength magnet with a little hole in the center, and not a particularly bright LED light, but it's okay. And what is nice is it uses 2 AA batteries, so I would say just a standard brightness LED in there, you should get many hours of life out of it. The nice thing about aluminum is a material that actually shields or blocks magnetic fields. It's actually pretty nice, and I appreciate that in this situation. It'll eventually get pretty dinged up as you use it, especially when you're fishing around trying to find a lost socket or a nut or a bolt. But what it will do is help prevent the magnet from wanting just to stick to everything as you're trying to fish through. So it's kind of one of those hit or miss situations where you really, not a hit or miss, but a compromise, because you have to use aluminum to really make the tool a little more effective. Then they just use a little crimp. This is a steel flex section, and it's of course hollow and it's coated. You can see that, so it's not too bad. Hollow so the wires can go through it. And then it's crimped down here. One thing I did want to mention is if you do pick one of these up off the shelves at Harbor Freight, make sure to take a close look at the packaging. Some of them just had some really terrible, really uneven, crimps where they just had squashed it way too much on 2 sides and hardly anything. You can see evidence of that here, where there's small flats and then some bigger flats. But some were just terrible, so I did want to mention that. The aluminum, I'm sure, is low grade. It's not aircraft grade. It's not kind of any real alloy. It's just basic, cheap aluminum. Although what is nice is they have a little silicone, button or booty over the button. And then on the tail end here, they do have an O-ring. So this is not rated to be waterproof or anything by any means. But it is kind of nice that they did that. So if it does get, rained on or something, it just won't immediately fill up with water, and it's just a basic cap. The machining on the threads, as we can see, is, it's not super great, but it's fine, especially for a tool that's a lit flex pickup tool for only $6 on the shelf. So I overall think it's really not that bad for $6. If we take a look at the measurements, we'll take the overall measurement from the tip to the very back of the tailpiece. We can see is 26.5 inches. And the length of the flex section is 18 inches. So you have a 26-inch tool with 18 inches of flex on it. And it is a pretty decent flex section. You want to remember about these flexes is you don't want to kink them, otherwise that just ruins that section of the tube. And if you fold them over too tight, it'll actually tear the tube apart. But that being said, it actually will make a pretty nice tight circle. It will bend around some pretty nice bends. So if you drop bolts, they always tend to get stuck around, under cross members, that kind of thing. Sometimes inside doors and body handles. So the nice thing about a flex section is you can just kind of fish it, push it around, and it'll kind of work its way. And it's like a fishing expedition. And you just wiggle it around until you end up running into the bolt or fastener. The nice thing about this light, let's take another look at it. There's the light. It's not very impressive at all, but it's good enough. And so that can be handy too, as this is a, long extension flexible light with a small head, so it can oftentimes come in handy just for that purpose, just where you need a little bit of extra light in a real tight space. This would be a great option for it. And it's nice to help you kind of see what you're doing in those situations. I've always liked the design with the light in the end of it. It really can be a real handy. And, it's just a magnetic pickup tool otherwise. The one thing I'll say about the strength of the magnet is, even though it's a neodymium, neodymium magnets actually have strength ratings. It's known as the N rating, and an N55, I believe, is the very strongest. Those are those super duper strong magnets that come out of hard drives, or N55. This one is pretty strong, but I would say it's not an N55, maybe an N40. It's a good strong magnet, but it isn't the top grade. But I can understand that as well. When you're trying to put all this together and ship it for $6 of a retail price, that's pretty good. Although, it probably costs them $1 or $2 to make it. Realistically, there's a bunch of work that's in it. The whole flashlight body with the knurling, the electronics, the button, the LED, the wires, the flex section. I really think, it's for the quality and how it's built, I don't think you could really beat this for $6, especially on a retail shelf. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick review of this Harbor Freight magnetic lit pickup tool, and kind of do as a bonus review for my not so great tin snips review. I really appreciate everybody watching, and please subscribe. Catus Maximus out.